Vodacom is majority owned by Vodafone, one of the world's largest mobile companies. The company has operations in South Africa, Tanzania, the DRC, Lesotho and Mozambique. Vodacom has a market cap of 156 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 15 and a dividend yield of 6.8%. When you look at Vodacom's Africa strategy, is not as aggressive as the one with the MTN.
Yeah, and it has to do with its roots. It was the first to get up and running here in South Africa when those networks were brought about. When was it? Sort of in about 1990 or whatever it was. So it's got the preeminent position in this market. It's got the biggest sort of postpaid rather, customer base. And the postpaid contract customers are the ones that use their phones a lot. Good margins there, good data sales there. They obviously came out of the Telkom group, which was their 50% shareholder. Vodafone got involved, bought a stake first from Johan Rupert. Then they bought the whole thing, roughly 65%, and then they listed it on the stock exchange. Management changed recently. We had Peter Ace in the current role. Now he's been succeeded by Shamil Jussab, who's an old Vodacom guy anyway, who went somewhere else in Vodafone and is now back. So I think a good, stable operation. Look, it's true, they should do better in Mozambique and in Tanzania and these other places they work. But because Vodafone owns Safaricom and all those other things, I think their singular focus is on dominating the South African market and doing as well as they can here. And I think that's fine. I mean, they must continue to do that. I don't know what the latest is from the DRC. They're fighting with those guys there.
What do you make of earnings potential for Vodacom, Viv? They had a trading update saying they're seeing earnings up by about 25%.
Yeah, look, I mean, as Paul mentioned, their focus is much more on South Africa than MTN is. But that being said, like, I still believe that there's still more growth available. Even if the number of consumers may not increase, you still have more revenue per consumer. And there are also some interesting things up in Africa as well. In Tanzania, for instance, they do quite a large percentage of the total, money flow in the country goes through Vodafone on a daily basis, on Vodacom on a daily basis through their transfer system on their cell phones. So it's quite an interesting, kind of marketplace out there. A lot of places in Africa, it's very hard to bank. People trust the cell phone companies, so they do a lot of transfers via their cell phones, etc. So it's an interesting market out there. But like Paul mentioned, it is primarily focused on South Africa because of the history. I mean, Vodafone didn't want to have a competition for their own products out there in Africa, and they didn't own the whole company. They would restrict Vodacom's exposure. But that being said, South Africa still has a great deal of growth potential. We have a strong economy, reasonably strong anyway compared to some parts of the world. But the adoption of certain broadband and other kind of services that are offered by these companies is still quite low. So we might see an increase as people have more smartphones and so on going in the future.
So hot or not for you?
I'm hot on Vodacom.
Paul, hot or not?
No, I'm hot on it too. I bought some stock myself and for our clients when it sort of fell off there recently down to about 90. It's since climbed back out to sort of the 105 sort of level, and there was a big, huge dividend. Both MTN and Vodacom have got fantastic dividend yields, and the prices are not that high. I just think what they must do is they must put this 4G thing in, this LTE thing on all of the base stations, and they must pull big, fat fiber optic pipes between all of those base stations. Then you can start watching television via your cell phone.
Awesome.
You plug it into the set and so on and so forth. That's where we're going. So it's a chase to see who can bring the biggest bandwidth to the home. The voice business, which is where they started out, is the least of their worries. I'm pretty sure in a couple of years' time, people will not speak to each other on the telephone anymore. I already don't. Who speaks to each other on their telephone? Send me a text, for heaven's sake. Definitely hot.
So 2 hots on Vodacom.